Okay, so we are 5 past or so we're going to start. Hopefully you can all see my screen and you can see what we're talking about. What does a good opportunity look like? So just for those of you who are not aware of Hulock Consulting, we offer a variety of training and coaching services, either online, for private bespoke courses or public training, basically helping sales professionals to improve their performance so they can win more deals, generate more revenue, and hopefully earn more commission. The backbone of all of our training is the equation of sales, which simply states that trust times needs times value equals successful selling. And what it means is that in order to be successful, you've got to build trust with your potential customer. You've got to understand what it is that they need, and you've got to demonstrate that your product is going to deliver value for them against that need. And if you can do all of those things, then you'll be successful. So today we are talking about what is a sales opportunity, or what is how do you find a great sales opportunity? So what is a sales opportunity? And if you ask any number of people, you'll probably get a different answer from each of them, because it really depends on where that opportunity is in the sales process. And it can get called a lead, a prospect, an opportunity. In its simplest form, I would always say a sales opportunity is the chance to sell something to someone. If you think about, in a business to consumer world, someone's walked into your shop, right? That's an opportunity to sell something to them. You don't yet know what they need. You don't yet know whether you can supply it to them. You don't yet know whether they're going to like the price. But that you've got an opportunity because they've walked into your shop. And that's really what it is that we're trying to do. How do we find those things without opening up shops because we're selling to other businesses? And how do we know which are the good ones to actually spend our time chasing? Okay. So I found this great quote from Albert Einstein. Now, he's obviously credited with lots of interesting quotes, some of which it's not certain that he ever actually said. But he purportedly said, in the middle of every difficulty lies opportunity, which means that in finding a good opportunity means that we need to find a good problem, which means we need to identify needs of our customers. And that's basically what it comes down to. The better the need, the better the opportunity. So let's just start by thinking through the various stages of an opportunity, and how we progress it and where we go and find them from originally. And then how do we work out which ones we want to go and actually work on? Okay, so here's our sales funnel, and at the top we can call this a lead or a suspect. I tend to use suspect, and this is basically, I think there might be an opportunity to sell something to someone. All right, so somebody's walked into my shop. Okay, the next level is what I call prospect, which is I know that there is an opportunity. So I've talked with the customer and they've told me what it is that they want, and I think I can help them with it, right? The next level is the opportunity, where we have presented a proposal to the customer. So we may demonstrate what our product is. We may tell them what the price is. We may tell them all the rest of the terms and conditions that go with it, depending on what it is that we're doing. But we've presented a proposal to the customer. We're going to give you this, and you're going to give me some money in return. Okay. And then the last stage, obviously, is a sale. Once the customer has accepted the opportunity, they may say, yeah, but we need to change some terms or whatever, or we may negotiate a little bit, but we finally end up closing it, and we're done. So in terms of the numbers that we're dealing with, it may be hundreds of suspects down to 1 or 2 sales. It might only be tens of suspects down to a sale. But there's always more suspects than there are sales, and we lose opportunities as we go through the funnel. And so clearly our chances of success will vary, right? 1 in 10 suspects may close. 9 in 10 sales may close. The reality is, I think it should be more like 99 out of 100 sales close. We should not be losing sales once we get to that point. But very definitely, we're going to lose opportunities at the start of the process. And the thing for what the whole point of today is to try and talk about is, how do we reject the ones that are not worth chasing? How do we eliminate those suspects and prospects quickly from our funnel, such that we can focus on those that are most likely to sell, so that we've got greatest opportunity of actually closing those? So where do we first of all go and get those suspects from? How do we feed the funnel that we've got? Okay, so they come from a variety of places, depending on what we're selling, right? So we might be working in a purely vertical market. So if we're in the oil industry, for example, we can be fairly confident that, you know, all the oil companies are going to want our product. And so we can say, well, immediately we've narrowed down our range of customers. We may look at former customers, people who've bought our product before. They may want to buy it again, or the individuals within those companies that have bought it may choose to buy it in a different company, or they may refer you to another company and say, look, this is a really good product, you should go and buy it, or whatever. We may have people interact with our website, so they download a white paper, or they attend a webinar, for example. That might indicate an interest in buying what it is that we have to have. We may meet people at trade shows or networking events or any other sort of event that we have. The fact that they come along to those, or they come and talk to us on our booth, indicates they might have an interest in what it is that we're doing. All of those are very much passive activities. We're waiting for other people to come to us. Sending out emails, cold calling, lead generation companies, they're much more of an active way of going about finding these opportunities. But even with those, we've got to work out, who is it that we're going to contact? We don't want to go and send emails out to every single company in the world, right? That's never going to be successful. We don't have time to call every single company in order to work out whether they're likely to be a good customer, or whether we can get an opportunity or not. So we've got to find a way of determining who's most likely to buy our products. How can we identify those that are worth chasing? Okay. So if you ever think about where good ideas come from, good ideas generally come from putting together two pieces of information to make a third thing. So we take something that's going on somewhere with something else, some idea that we've got, we put them together and it makes a third thing. So for sales ideas, they come from understanding what your product does and understanding what your customer is doing, and identifying something within your customer's activity where your product is going to be applicable. And at this point, it might just be a guess. It might just be, I think this is something that they want, right? But it's usually sufficient to create an opportunity. So it's really obviously important that you understand your product, right? And anyone who doesn't is going to struggle to do this, right? But it's equally important to understand what your customer is doing, such that you can put those two together and identify opportunities. Okay, so the customer's activity that generally drives the idea that is going to come up with is that they need something. Okay, so what's a need then, right? So a need is the difference between the way things are and the way that they should be. So if you think about it, we sometimes say, oh, I've got no needs, I've got everything I need in the world, I'm perfectly happy, right? In which case we don't need to buy anything. But the chances are very few companies are ever going to be in that position. You've been wondering why the picture of toilet rolls is there. When I was putting the slides together a while ago, I go onto an image library and I searched for a picture that was related to needs. And the most common picture that came up was of toilet rolls. Because I think about 2 years ago, if you remember, everybody was buying toilet rolls when they didn't really need them. But it is always a need. So anyway, business have needs and they will buy things in order to satisfy that need. Okay. And to be successful in sales, right, the salesperson has got to understand the possible needs that that company has and see how they can help them. Because obviously, if you can't help them, right, there's not an opportunity there. So the more successful salespeople basically will understand that what the needs that a company has and how they can help them. Okay. And there's a variety of ways we can go about trying to understand what a company's needs are. There's a variety of needs analysis tools out there. Not all of them are necessarily usable for sales. Some of them are done internally within a company, but they are worth sort of just mentioning as we go through this. Okay, so a SWOT analysis: what are the company's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats? So we can look at a company and see how it is that they're doing, what's good about them, what are they struggling with, what are their opportunities, what are the threats against them. And clearly their strengths and opportunities don't generally give us opportunities to sell, but their weaknesses and threats possibly do. So if we can identify areas that they're not doing very well, or where a competitor is threatening them or something else is threatening them, and we can help them with that, then we can identify opportunities as a result. Okay, a gap analysis, right? What are you achieving and what would you like to achieve? So what is this company managing to do? Where do we think they actually want to be? And what else could they be doing as a result? Okay. Benchmarking, what are others doing? Now, this is a great way of understanding what a company can be doing. So if you look out in the marketplace and see 10 companies are all doing one thing, and then there's another company that's not doing it, those 10 companies probably know something that other company doesn't. So is there something that you can do that helps them to look more like the other companies, right? Capability analysis: what are they able to do and what do they need to be able to do? So if you look at the range of people that are employed by a company, you may see that certain skills are not represented there. If you're able to provide those skills into that company, then maybe there's an opportunity there for you. Okay. Variance analysis compares actual performance to ideal performance. So how are they doing? What is the perfect thing for them to be doing? And again, that's a little bit like benchmarking, comparing it to others, but you may look at this as saying, well, actually, they're so far ahead or so far behind everyone else, it's that they've got their own benchmark, but what could they be doing? And let's have a look at that. Okay. Problem analysis: where has there been failures? So for example, major oil company just recently had a major write-down because they obviously haven't done work that well, right? Does that lead to an opportunity for you? Have they announced something that's gone wrong? Has something else, come along that's caused a failure or whatever? What can we identify that might lead to an opportunity? Okay. And then a requirements analysis is very much an internal one. It's worth just mentioning. So it's building understanding by stakeholders. So, all the people who are involved in the company, what is it that they think they need to be able to do, and such like. So there's a variety of ways we can go about trying to understand what a company needs, right? One of the other things that you can think about is the evolution of a company, because their needs will change over time, right? As they grow and develop as a company, their needs will change. So if you think a company might start off as just one person, possibly with a laptop working in a shed, right? The needs that they have at that point are quite limited, right? But as they tend to grow, and take on more people, they maybe need more computing power, or they may open a workshop, depending on what it is that they do. They may grow even bigger, and they might start to use integrated software, and they might open a factory. And then finally, they may get, exceptionally big and have multiple offices in multiple locations, use enterprise-wide software. So as a company evolves, its needs are going to change. And depending on, again, what you sell, if you catch them at the point where they're, evolving from one stage to the next, and you're able to help them with that evolution, then that's, again, another thing that enables you to identify an opportunity. Okay. So overall, what we're trying to do is think about What might a company be doing to make them need your solutions? And then secondly, what are they going to do once they have them, right? If you don't understand what they're going to do as a result of having them, then again, it's difficult to justify the value of the product to them, right? So we need to be thinking of these two things at any one stage when we are running through this, okay? So all of this is designed to try and find out, all these basic ideas. How can we feed the funnel and identify our suspects, right? So how do we go about finding these sorts of needs? Well, obviously they're going to be related to what it is that we are selling and what people are doing with this. And so how you go about doing it will vary by products and marketplaces and such like. But some basic information that you'll always want to know. What is it that they do, right? What's the basic reason for existing? Where are they based? Does that make a difference? How many people do they employ? Generally, the more people they employ, the more needs they're going to have, right? Who are their customers? What are their customers doing? And then, specific to your product, you might think, well, do they employ certain professions, right? If they're employing certain professions, they will therefore need things related to that. Are they working in a particular vertical or horizontal industry? And what standard processes happen in those industries that we have we can identify? So these are things that we can fairly easily find out. And at this early stage, if we are proactively trying to find needs, we're just trying to find a nugget of information that gives us a clue that they might need what we've got, right? We're never going to be certain until we actually go and talk to them. But we're really just trying to find, a good enough reason to say, yes, we think there's a need, and therefore it's worth my while going to talk to them. So where do we find out about those needs? The obvious thing that we're going to go and do is look at the company website. That obviously gives you a lot of information about what it is that they're doing, where they're doing it. There's quite often presentations on there that they've given. There's news sections on there. There's a list of all the things that they're doing and where they're doing it. So you can get an awful lot of information from there. Various government information sites. One of the ones I use is just simply the list of all the limited companies. So, do they still exist? Who are their directors? How much money have they got in the bank? So even for small companies, you'll see that sort of information, and it can be quite useful to know, right? News sites, which is just a conglomeration of the various information that companies put out as press releases, but it's a good way of seeing all the information in one place. Competitors' websites, right? So both their competitors and yours. So the reason I have both of those in, so what are their competitors doing? So you may see lots of other companies are doing something and your target company isn't. So that might give you an idea. But equally, your competitors may just have announced a big win with this company, right? And if that's the case, that's going to make it difficult for you to try and promote your products to them, right? So if you can look at what your competitors are doing, you can sometimes find information that's relevant to your target customer. LinkedIn obviously is getting used more and more for people's business related work. And so what's going on in various companies is posted on there and can give you an idea. It also gives you an idea of who works for a company, how many people work there, what skills do they have, what's their range of backgrounds and such like, and that can be very useful. Conference papers where they talk about what activities they've been doing, what's happened in the last year or so, where they've done some work, what they've learned as a result. That can quite often give you an idea. Obviously, if they issue tenders to acquire products or services or whatever, obviously that tends to be large opportunities or large pound opportunities. That will give you an idea. And sometimes even if it's not something that you can respond to, or it's something that you might not win, it might give you an idea that, well, if they're looking for that sort of a thing, then actually all the things that we provide may be of interest to them as well. So it gives you more of an idea of what's going on. Wikipedia can be useful for various companies, and then obviously Google any sort of search to find out nuggets of information that have not been picked up from other places. Can be very useful to identify what's going on. So all of those things go into feeding our suspects. And now that we've got, a whole long list of lots of companies with ideas as to where there may be an opportunity for us, we have to find a way of starting to whittle them down, right? Which ones are we going to focus on? Now, they may naturally fall out of an opportunity or out of the opportunity funnel just by the various things that happen. But really, we want to be proactive in going and chasing these opportunities. So which ones are we going to chase, right? So the first thing that we need to do is understand which customers do we want to work with, okay? And we really only want to focus on good customers, right? Good customers, we have a great relationship with us. So they generally generate us lots of revenue. They give us good, honest feedback, and they keep coming back and buying more, right? Bad customers tend to cost us time and money, and we end up chasing them and never, ever getting anything back out of it. So we have to try and work out who's a good customer and who's not a good customer, right? And then those good customers, we're going to go out and proactively seek. We're going to want to go and talk to them, and we're going to want to work with them today, right? The not so good customers, we don't want to just ignore them completely, because they may come to us and say, we'd like to buy your product. And obviously in that instance, you'll quite happily obviously deal with them. So you'll react to them when they're approached. But equally, for some reason, they may change to be a good customer. Their characteristics may change. They may get a new project coming in, or they may get new people coming in, and they're all, more minded to come and work with you. So you don't ever want to ignore them completely, but you don't want to spend an awful lot of time working with them. So you're just preparing for the next day when they may come in, right? So in terms of identifying them, it's a little bit like identifying your favorite pub or your favorite restaurant, right? You kind of instinctively know whether you're comfortable in a pub or a restaurant, and whether you want to go back there or what you like about it. And you go and look for similar places when you go out, right? So if I asked you to write it down, you could probably write down a list of, here's all the good things about these places. And you tend to go to other places like that, and you avoid places that are not like that. And that's really what we're trying to do. We're trying to say, which are the good customers that we want to go and work with today, and we're not going to go into the other ones and deal with it. So once we've identified who our best customers are, we've then got to go and think about how we manage our opportunities as they progress through the funnel, right? So this is effectively what's sales opportunity management. So how are we going to identify and weed out the suspects that are not going to work, and how are we going to get down to the opportunities that we most want, right? So we want to sort of deal with most likely sales first, and deal with the less likely ones afterwards, okay? And we really have to have a way of doing that. And we really ought to be able to track, right, how opportunities flow into the funnel at the top, and how they work down to the bottom, and how we lose them along the way. All right, so customer relationship management systems will enable you to do that sort of thing if you've got the right information, and it can easily get the right information in there. The reason that you do that is then that you can learn from it, right? So what went well? What did we do? Why did we lose this? What was a good way of finding these information? If all your opportunities close and they've all come from the same location, then it says you need to do more of that activity, right? So it's a way of learning from how your opportunities are won and lost that allows you to get better at doing all of this, okay? So the reason that we want to focus on winning sales opportunities is that we can spend an awful lot of time on unproductive prospecting. And studies show that up to 50% of sales time is lost on that, right? Which is not a great way of spending our time. And worse still, that it takes longer to lose a deal than it takes to win one, because we're still chasing the customer, even though they've decided that they want to go and spend their money with someone else, right? So the sooner that you can identify that you're not likely to win this opportunity, the sooner you can drop it and not work on it and really work on the ones that are most likely to close, okay? And working out what a good opportunity is a great quote from this guy from Spiderworks who said, you know, a good opportunity is one that is relevant. To know which ones are most relevant, you need to be able to assess them against predetermined criteria. So we need a set of rules or measures that say, this opportunity is good, this opportunity is not so good, right? And it's a scale, and there's a whole series of criteria that we use. Some criteria more important than others, but we need to be consistent in how we do it to be able to give ourselves the best chance of going and getting the best opportunity or closing the best opportunities that we've got. Okay, so how do we know what works? Predominantly, it's down to experience. So that's either our experience or the experience of our colleagues, or the experience of our company, right? So the experience of our company is what we've got in our CRM system. So what history have we got that we can track, that we know what works well? Our own experience, you know, what have we done? Or, you know, if we've lost an opportunity, can we recognize what we didn't do very well, what we could have done better or what we could have done differently, right? So our own experience tells us to do things differently the next time. If you're new in a company, then our peers, you know, the people that we work with can give us knowledge as to what works well and what doesn't work so well. And then the last thing is feedback, right? So if you lose an opportunity, ask the customer why, right? I'm always amazed when you get a quote for something in your house and people don't give you any feedback, or people don't ask for why you didn't pick them. Right, so they don't follow up on a quote. Why would you not find out what why they didn't pick you? Because that tells you, I mean, was it price? Did they just not like you? Or what is it that made them choose someone else? Tells you what to do differently next time. Okay. So again, the criteria that we use are going to vary by what it is that you're selling and where you're selling. But some easy ones that we might think about is, are they a good company? Are we happy to work with them? Are they going to be a nice company to deal with, right? How big is the order? Obviously, you know, the larger the value, the better it is for us. How easy is it to deliver on expectations? Can we actually do this without breaking the company? Yeah. Do we have a specific advantage over our competitors? Can we state clearly that we are the best placed to actually win this? If you're not the best place to win it, right, you've got to then question how much time you spend trying to win it. Okay, is the budget known and understood? Right, are we actually quoting for something that is within the company's budget such that we know that they can accept it? Right, will this order open up more opportunities in the future? Right, so it might be a small order today, but it could be lots more opportunities into the future. And that's obviously worth more in the longer term if we win, right? Are we the most likely winners? You know, it might be that we've got the best technology out there, or we've got the best product out there, but there might be other reasons why the customer wants to go with someone else, right? So can we determine that we're the most likely winners? So those criteria, as I say, may vary by product, may vary by marketplace. They'll certainly vary between companies. So you have to work out what is it that you want to go and work on. What is it that you make sense for for you to decide are the most important opportunities to chase. And then we've got to have a way of working out, given that not all of those criteria are equal, how do we work out what's most important and assess the overall strength of that opportunity? Okay, so I use this template to do it, whereby we have each of the criteria listed in general, and then we define what a poor opportunity looks like for that criteria and what a good opportunity looks like for that criteria. And each of those then has a score associated with it. And then when we actually come to assess each opportunity, we'll give it a score, obviously between the maximum and the minimum, and we'll write a comment as to why we've given it that score. And then potentially, is there an action that we can do that is going to improve that score? How can we make this better, right? What can we do in order to do that? Okay, so some examples then, right? So we've said, are they a good company? Well, a poor company might be rated as they've never bought anything from us, through to a fantastic company. And obviously we need to define what fantastic looks like. How big is the order, right? In this example, less than £10,000 versus more than $1 million, right? So a really great order is over $1 million, right? Is the budget known and understood, right? Or maybe we've never asked for it. Yes, we fit in it, right? Are we likely to win? Or, will we win in the future, right? And you can see that the maximum score, so the minimum score is always 1, the maximum score varies, right? So for example, will we win more in the future? The maximum you can score is 8, because actually if we win this one, we're going to have a long-term relationship with this customer, right? But a long-term relationship with a customer that's only going to spend £10,000 at a time is nowhere near as valuable as a one-off purchase of £1 million, right? So we need that the size of the order is more important than whether it's a long-term relationship. Now, whether it's 10 to 8 or 10 to 5 or whatever, you need to work out how you think those things are relatively scaled, right? But we use that maximum score and the variation in that to indicate which are the most important criteria, okay? So, in this instance, is the budget known is the least important criteria, right? Now, whether that's right or not, as I say, that's up to you to decide how it works for you, okay? And then we'll go and look at each opportunity and we will determine for this opportunity, how does this opportunity score? So are they a good company? And we're saying, well, they're pretty good. So they get a score of 8. The order is 100,000. So scores 6. So it's between the 10 and the million. You've got to decide how you scale that, right? Is the budget known? In this instance, it's not. So that only scores a 1. Are we likely to win? Well, there's one other competitor. So that's a 5, right? Will we win more in the future? Possibly. So we're not quite sure about this one. So usually when I'm not quite sure what the answer is, I put a score in the middle. So that it's neither one thing nor the other, right? So in this instance, this particular opportunity scores 24 out of 43. So it's better than half, but still not brilliant. But if we look at it, is the budget known? We don't know, right? But there is something that we can go and do about that. We can go and ask, we can go and find out, right? Now, probably we should have known this before now, depending on what stage this opportunity is at. But it may be early days in the sales cycle, and therefore we've never had the opportunity to ask. So we can make that score better, right? Are we likely to win? There's one other competitor. So what we want to do there is we want to understand, why are we unique, right? What is it that is going to persuade this customer to buy from us rather than anybody else? And in that instance, again, we may be able to get that score higher, right? If we can be sure that our uniquenesses are, so much more of an advantage than the competitors' uniquenesses. So we can improve our score there. We'll never get it to 43. It can never be, it's never going to be $1 million or £1 million. So it's never going to be as the maximum score. But it's all a relative one. And the aim is to work on the ones that are most have the highest scores, and for all the others, we'll work and then work through the actions that are associated with each of them to try and improve them. Okay, so by doing that, we're assessing all of our opportunities against our predetermined criteria, and we are able to better manage the work that we've got, such that we focus on the opportunities that are most likely to win. Right now, that doesn't mean to say that we never ever do anything with those other opportunities. For poor or lost opportunities, there are things that you can do, right? So if we nurture those leads, right, they will generally lead to purchases in the future, and potentially even larger purchases in the future. And the way that we do that is maybe like sending the customer information, inviting them to trade shows, inviting them to events or whatever. These are things that don't take an awful lot of your time or a lot of your effort, but keep that customer engaged with you such that at the time where that opportunity becomes a much more productive opportunity, a much more positive opportunity, you've got a greater chance of winning it as a result. Okay. So that's all I had for today. Thanks for attending. I will stop sharing in a minute, and you can ask any questions that you've got. I just wanted to point out that if you wanted to sign up for future events or our newsletter, you can do that through the website. There's buttons on the homepage. Our online school is now up and running and available. And obviously my book, The Equation of Sales, is available as well. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing and I am going to